Colorado Credit Union originally was Johns Manville Corporation's credit union, a building products manufacturer. We've been a community-based credit union now since about 2009. Have had a very steep growth plane, which predicated the need for a new building. We were outgrowing our building. We've had, as I'd mentioned before, quite a bit of growth. We were literally running out of seats. The cubes were full. We had one cube left, knew that we needed to fill. We had to grow our space. And so what we did is we hired Level5 to come in and do a space study for us, and also look for potential new branches. When we built the existing building we were in, we were only $80 million in assets and had limited resources. And so we bought a location that wasn't very visible, built a very nice building, but again, the location was poor. Traffic, people really had, it was a destination. People had to look for us. So one of the things we wanted was a lot more visibility, and we hired Level5. We had talked to several other credit unions that had used Level5. We did our due diligence, looked at several different vendors, and landed with Level5, and I'm very grateful we did. And so ultimately, we knew we needed space. We found a bank building, and the plan was to remodel the bank space. It was a 2-story building. Plan was to remodel the bank space and move our branch in there, and then use where the old branch was as space for our corporate office. Second floor had a long-term lease on it, and it was going to work out well. And so Level5 did a tremendous job of moving us into the 21st century. I say we had a traditional teller line in the old building, went to the pod concept, and it's worked very well for us. Interestingly, when we opened is right when COVID hit. So we basically had to totally retrofit the entire new pod concept, the consultative approach we were working with, and go back to a more traditional teller line. And now we're back to being able to get back where the original plan, and couldn't be happier. The reason we decided to move into the pod concept, the community out here is pretty upscale, reasonably innovative. A lot of entrepreneurs live out in the southwest Jefferson County area of Colorado, and so we thought that this would be a good test case for a non-traditional branch. And we'd seen some success with some of our peers, had long discussions with Level5 about the pros and cons of it, and walked through it and decided to pull the trigger. After some selling to the board, people are used to a traditional teller line, and we went away from that. And so far, so good. It's going well at this point. So Colorado Credit Union has 3 branches. All 3 were very traditional, normal teller lines, order taking rather than consultative. And so this was our first test case. So far, it's gone very well. Our growth has been very strong, and the long-range plan is to retrofit our other 2 branches in our other 2 communities. One's downtown and then one's out in Brighton. And so we're looking to that. We're also looking to expand potentially into another branch at some point. And we'll use Level5 for that analysis as well. When we started to look for vendors, I kind of had a vision that we needed to at least explore the pod thing. I've been in banking for a long time, kind of old school, would like to think I'm reasonably progressive with emerging trends and being able to identify those and then implement them in our organization. But we met again with 3 other companies before we landed on Level5, walked through the pros and cons of the traditional versus the pod and consultative approach, really bought into the consultative side. I think that's what people want. They can go online and open an account and do that. If they know what they want to do, they can do all that stuff online. It's the consultative piece where I think we can differentiate ourselves from some of our competition. And so we met with Level5, really walked through that. They showed us some examples of other areas they'd done. There's also a credit union here in town that's doing the same thing. We went and visited their branches and really was sold on it. And so Level5 walked us through that. And then we had to sell it to the board. Again, it's a whole different concept. And we got it through the board. They approved it. Level 5 gave us some renderings and some things of what it would look like, and the board bought in 100%. And we're looking forward to post-COVID when we can really implement it to the level that it was designed to handle. When we first landed on the pod concept, we were able to communicate what we were looking for, and Level 5 and Praxis was their partner. Were able, the architect, were really able to, I thought, nailed our concept pretty quickly. We did change things as we went. You get into a building and things change, right? There's things you weren't counting on that had to be retrofitted or whatever, and Level 5 was very flexible with that stuff. But what we did do is, as we were going back and forth, that we really relied on Level 5 and their expertise. We're not in the construction business, we're in the banking business, right? And like to think we're pretty good at it. But also know Level 5 is very good at what they do. And so we relied very heavily on that with clearly our final say on it, and say, the colors or whatever. We also went through a rebranding in the middle of this. So we changed our colors, and Level 5 had to kind of adapt to that as well. And it all worked out great. When we decided to rebrand, we had already bought the building, and it was time. Our brand, we got a new marketing person, and the first comment was, our brand's a little stale. And we had the brand since 2005, and so it was almost 15 years old at that point. And probably had gotten a little stale. I liked it, but the market wasn't targeted at me. And so our marketing director really pushed to explore this, and we did, and landed on a wonderful new design. And when we met with Level 5 and said we're going through this, they were very supportive of what we were doing, and just tweaked things a little bit, right? So this community room, for example, we wanted that new logo front and center. You can see it behind me, and we've got that through the entire organization. And staff has really bought in with the rebranding, and members love it, and it's just worked out very well. I guess the key there is Level 5 and Praxis both were very, very flexible, knowing that we kind of shifted gears in midstream. We made a pretty large shift from when we decided to go away from the traditional teller line to the consultative approach. We also upgraded our technology significantly. So we went to cash recyclers. We put Surfaces, the Microsoft Surfaces, in all of our employees' hands. The intent is to have our employees meet the members at the door with the Surface and take them into an area, they can sit down on a couch and do their transactions there. Employee gets up, walks over to the cash recycler, pulls the cash out. As friendly and as inviting and warm as we can be for those members. We want them to want to come into the branch. And so we moved to that direction. Of course, then COVID hit, and we put everybody behind plastic again. And so we're very much looking forward to getting into the real design of the branch. We are also moving to digital in our drive-ups, and have really tried to embrace the new technologies that are out there. And so far, the members have been very open to that. We also went coinless in our branch, and that was an idea Level 5 brought to us. And I just couldn't imagine that. 100 years ago, I was a teller, and how do you run a branch without coin? And it's worked very well. And so we have a coin machine in the branch that we've added that the members can dump their coin, and we just put it in their account. And if they cash a check and there's change involved, we just put it in their share account or round it up one way or the other. So it's worked very well. So the technology side of it has been a lot of fun, actually. Staff really enjoys the Surfaces and the ability to talk to the members, and it's just it's worked very well. We originally hired Level 5 to do a survey of potential branch locations or new corporate headquarters. And part of that was we asked them to look for new potential branches as well, long range, 3 to 5 years out, for at least one, if not two branches. And when we started looking, of course, ground is starting to get very expensive, and this bank building kind of fell in our lap. And to Level 5's credit, and this was one of the reasons that I am a big proponent of Level 5, we had an opportunity to buy some land and build a building that would have cost about double of what it cost us to buy this existing building, which was actually a little bigger than what we had planned to build, and then retrofit it. And Level 5 recommended we buy the building here and retrofit it rather than building a brand new building at quite a bit of lost revenue to Level 5. I mean, clearly they're going to make a lot more money building a new building than retrofitting an existing building. And right then I knew I found the right partner. And so, but the study they did, we looked at locations, and that was a very in-depth study that really helped us understand the market where we were currently at and how well our penetration was. Also confirmed that our location was poor from a visibility standpoint, and the growth that this new location, which is very visible, it's on one of the main streets in our area, is already paying dividends. So it's been just a great relationship. When we decide to open another branch, the first call I will make will be to Level 5. I don't believe we'll bid it out. The relationship is solid. We had a problem arise after the fact, and Level 5 stepped up, and they really didn't have to. Stepped up, helped us resolve it, and then helped us split the cost on it as well. Again, it just speaks to the integrity of the company. And to me, those are the type of companies I want to do business with. And when I know I don't have to worry about stuff like that, I will be back, right? I mean, you want to do business with people you can trust. And so the project itself, again, when you're remodeling or when you're building a new building, there is headaches left and right. They just come and go. And the question is, how are they handled? And in my opinion, they were handled correctly, timely, and with budget in mind. It wasn't, we just need to keep spending more money, because that wasn't the case. And so really pleased with what's taken place. My philosophy on branches moving forward with offsetting it with the digital side of that, I still believe there's a very strong place for the retail locations. I believe people still want, whether they ever walk into a branch, they want the ability to walk into a branch to talk to somebody. Most of our members, clearly through COVID, have shifted onto the mobile and online strategy, delivery channels, and it's gone very well. But people still want to come in, especially if they're having problems, they want to sit down and talk to somebody, or a mortgage, something big. It's been our experience that they still want to have the ability, again, whether or not they ever set foot in, they want the ability to come into a location. So it's my belief that we do need to continue to add branches, a little more selective than maybe we would have in the past, and not do quite as many. But I think people still want the flexibility to come in and open an account, sit down and talk to somebody. The building we bought was a bank building. They had half of the first floor, they leased the other half, and then the second floor was all leased. So the bank space was chic 1970s, I think is the right way to say it. They still had the glass blocks as dividers in the offices. The colors were dark. Just was old. We literally took the branch down to the studs. The offices all shifted around. They had a vault with safe deposit boxes. We turned that vault. We didn't want to keep a vault. We didn't want safe deposit boxes. We turned that into a conference room, which was kind of cool. But literally took it all the way down. The ceilings came out, all the walls came out, and we started over. And worked very, very well. It again, when you're in the middle of that, we found some HVAC problems. A lot of deferred maintenance that we had to address that wasn't identified when we bought the building. It was stuff that the inspector wouldn't have found. And so Level 5 walked us through that, helped us hire the right people to get it fixed, and basically have a brand new building now. Internally, we as far as how we manage the project internally and with Level 5, the branches are literally, our old office and our new office are literally a half a mile away. And so we were able to pop in, probably more than the superintendent wanted us to, but we had a project manager internally, and then we had Level 5 had their superintendent here, and so communication levels were very high, and anytime an issue arose, we were able to be here literally in 5 minutes. And it worked very, very well for us from a communication standpoint. There was never any, I shouldn't say there wasn't surprises, but the surprises weren't caused by the relationship with Level 5. There was never ever anything that was hidden or tried to be covered up. It was things that popped up that we didn't know about, and then we had to fix them together. And the good news with that was there was always a recommended solution. We didn't have to sit here and say, well, what do we do now? There was always that, this is what I would do. Here's another option if you want it. But to me, and I'm a big believer, you do it right the first time so you don't have to clean it up later. And so we typically, even if it was a little more expensive, we took that route to make sure it was done correctly, so that we wanted a great place for our staff and our members. And that's where we ended up. My favorite things about this new branch, the community room here, we are a community-based credit union. We had a community room in our old space that was pretty heavily used by local Little Leagues or the Historic Society of the area, Rotary Club, anybody could use it. And like I'd mentioned earlier, we had outgrown our space, so we had to close the community room and put cubes in there for staff. And we created a void in the community. And so I really wanted to build a community room. We also, as I talked about, we were $80 million when we built the first building. We're just under $300 million now. Staff has grown significantly. I didn't have a place where we could meet as a group. And so we built this community/training room. And while the branch looks fantastic, and I love that, I really like the community room and the availability to, well, right now we're using it for board meetings. We can social distance in here. It's big enough. It's set up perfectly. The technology is first class, and that's probably my favorite. But I also one of the things we have done in all our branches is put a fireplace in. We want to have that homey, welcoming atmosphere, so we have a lot of stone in our branch as well as a fireplace in the branches. And the members love that. We had that in our old branch, and when they heard we were remodeling and moving to another thing, I had several comments, a fireplace. And it's funny, our retirees come in and sit around the fireplace and drink their free coffee. It's just a great meeting place, and that's what we're all about, right? It's about relationships. And so I just love the whole layout of both the community room and the branch. When we first started this process, well, let me back up. When we built our original building, we had looked at a design build firm and elected to go with an architect and an outside third party to build it. And both those parties were local. Level 5's talent clearly was the design build part of it and managing the whole project. I did quite a bit of due diligence with past clients. And you hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And fortunately, there wasn't much bad or ugly, and we decided to go with a design build firm and with Level 5. And I don't know if I did it again that I would ever explore another option. The old adage of there's one finger to point at is right. So when you have a problem, I called Level 5. I didn't have to call a contractor. I didn't have to get an architect involved to argue. It was one person to talk to all through the plan. And as I mentioned earlier, there's problems with a remodel. You find things that weren't anticipated, and Level 5 couldn't have known, and we didn't know, but we had to address it. And having that one point of contact was extremely helpful.
Level 5, going up.